Welcome back, everybody, to Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas. We finished our halftime, and we have two more matches for you today. Coming up next, we got Firebat versus Fr0zen, which is a departure from our usual lineup clash head-to-head. And while there has been Hunter being featured through Zalay, we have a mage this series with Fr0zen, while Fr0zen is choosing to ban the Hunter. Different take compared to Fr0zen's previous match, where he did let Hunter go through and consequently took a loss to Muzzy. Now, Firebat's going to start off with the Tempo Warrior for game number 1. And so this will be the first series today, which will see Warrior not banned. Any thoughts?
Nice. Well, I said earlier, some of the players that were previously leaving Warrior up, like players that went against the grain by bringing either Highlander Hunter or Galakrond Warlock, or in Fr0zen's case, Highlander Mage, are changing their ban because they're realizing that the matchups are still bad. Because with how consistent the Warrior deck is now, it just feels like with Grom Hellscream, it has reach even for the slow decks. Now, Mage is the one that I think you can get away with still leaving it up, but it's still just hard to imagine that Warrior, which in my opinion is the best deck in the metagame, gets left up at all. It just doesn't seem like there's a strategy where you can corner it. There's just the toss-up between like, well, you know, because between Zoo Warlock, Demon Hunter, Warrior, all of those are going to get a win against my lineup at some point, so I might as well just ban the ones that I don't want to play against. And maybe he feels more comfortable against Warrior, but Warrior seems so powerful right now. It's hard to think, but we'll see if it's going to work out for him. He gets to face it in game number 1 here with his Secret Rogue, which is overall pretty standard. Does play 2 Dirty Tricks, 2 Ambush, 1 Bamboozle. Other than that, standard Galakrond Rogue stuff.
Yeah, should be pretty straightforward, but I mean, we'll see. The early game has been very volatile for Rogue, sometimes having really good starts and sometimes just kind of getting too slow of a start. So Firebat, of course, off to a good start in his Grandmasters campaign as he has won his first series.
It was close, though. It was real close.
Yeah, it was pretty close.
He had to reverse sweep Purple's Rogue in his last series, which, you know, Rogue has been underperforming, but that's still a tall task. And also, his matchup, which was Warrior against Purple's Rogue, is my nomination for weirdest game of the week. It was just bizarre. Both players had terrible hands. Like, Firebat was floating around like 10 health for what seemed like forever, doing almost nothing as Warrior, and then somehow clawed his way back and pieced together a win. Highly recommend checking out that series. I know I just spoiled the result, but I mean, Firebat won the series, so obviously a little bit of it was spoiled. That one happened, I believe, yesterday against Purple? No, it was on Friday. Yeah, last matchup of Friday. Pretty cool series overall.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll get to see a little bit of a repeat of that. I like scrappy games in Hearthstone. I think it's pretty fun to watch people improvise win conditions and disruption plays, especially when it's from decks that's supposed to be more straightforward.
Yep.
People always say, like, oh, you know, just do X and you should always have Y result and you'll win Z amount of times. And it feels like while, you know, they are correct that you could boil down decks like Highlander Hunter and Face Hunter like to these like simplified terms, a lot of times you can choose to play a little different, and when you have information, you're reading your opponent, it ends up being a very important skill to have, which is the ability to adapt mid-game instead of just kind of playing your normal cards. And I mean, that's the argument in general for what variance brings to the table, right? Like, there are people who say, oh, Hearthstone has like so many cards being generated right now. And while sometimes it could be like, wow, I felt like I was going to win that game until Dragon Queen Alexstrasza created these threats, there's also those games where you're given unusual tools and you have to find alternate win conditions, which lots of players find very satisfying.
Yeah, and what makes it cool is that if I had to pick the top 3 players in America's Grandmasters at adapting mid-game and finding alternate win conditions, number 1, I would rate Monsanto. I just think that from what we've seen over the past couple years, Monsanto is just so good at finding these weird paths for winning. And then the next 2 would probably be Firebat and Purple. I've seen Purple win what seemed like unwinnable games. Like I have a specific memory of him in like a summer championship of like 2017 or 2018, of him like fatiguing Tom 60229. And it was just one of the most incredible games I've ever seen. And since then, I just kind of try and spot what Purple does in those situations, and he's great at it. So those are my top 3. So it was interesting that 2 out of my top 3 players of finding weird win conditions and in hands that both players draw bad hands. That's what make that game on Friday so cool. So, but we have another game on our hands. Firebat going, a pretty weak Risky Skipper turn, all things considered. Granted, it took a lot of power off the board, but Risky Skippers are quite a valuable resource in many matchups because they unlock many other things like Battle Rage. But he does have Risky Skipper number 2 in hand, so he's got time to use his other cards to piece together boards, find his Blood Boil Brutes, find his Battle Rages, until he uses his second Skipper.
Yeah, and the payoff was much higher too. If the Bomb Wrangler didn't die and Fr0zen had to leave it up, then he would have Rampage and Bloodsword Mercenary. And that is sometimes just enough to win you the game in terms of how much pressure is coming your way. Now remember, Rogue is still playing reactive. Oh, wow. Interesting enough, I don't know if either of those expensive dragons are good. Dragon Ball Skystalker might just be better for as an on-curve play. But kind of the point that we're making is that sometimes you can just win if your opponent plays a little bit too reactive. It's almost like a threat check. Like, oh, if you don't answer this, I win. And Rogue can struggle with that because they aren't lining up the best removal a lot of times. Especially if you damage your own minions, that makes things like Backstab and Seal Fate even harder to activate.
Yeah. And this matchup, you deal so much weapon damage, and Rogue has so little ways to get back up life. As long as you're not falling behind on board, you can usually find ways to end the game with Corcoran Elites, Inner Rage, Bloodsworn Mercenary, Grom, just sticking a Blood Boil Brute for a turn, that type of thing. So definitely do agree with the play. Now Fr0zen, I mean, Tutus does not look very menacing, but being at 16 health on turn 5 does get me a little clenched.
Yeah, especially since Firebat has Corcoran Elite and Bloodsword Mercenary. Speaking of, a second Corcoran Elite comes to the hand. Firebat can clear off this Shield of Galakron, and it just shows that Firebat how much he's really just trying to line up the win condition here.
Yeah, take out the taunts, push more damage with the weapon. He's an Inner Rage away from winning the game.
And he can discover it. Mortal Strike is also good.
Sure. Yeah.
More damage to push through.
Yeah.
And Fr0zen's
honestly
running out of taunts.
Well, he has Titanic Lackey, so that's one thing.
All right.
Like he can Kronks Titanic Lackey this turn, roll that into Galakron. He has invoked a few times, so actually only needs one more. But that is some much needed life gain as well. And if he can find some big things from the Galakron, might be able to claw his way back. But I mean, looking at Firebat's hand, he's still close.
Like, yeah, part of me wonders if Fr0zen should be shadow stepping here, try and get that Titanic Lackey back in hand.
I honestly think it's worth it, especially considering Galakron next turn could pick up something big. Whether it's just one free card that he can play, plus Edwin Van Cleef, then you taunt the Edwin Van Cleef. That Titanic Lackey has so much value.
Right.
Firebat really has no way to bypass the taunts. Deck lacks hard removal outside of Risky Skipper, but big taunts, it oftentimes has to trade down into it. But at a certain point, if you get low enough, Corcoran Elite plus Bloodsworn Mercenary is still enough because you use the first one to attack through, and the next one to attack face. This is, and taking damage is actually beneficial for Firebat right now because he's getting closer to Mortal Strike being active. Molten Breath, he has a dragon!
That's right. Molten Breath helps him get through, and he gains a little bit of armor here. And he pushes 2 damage. And it seems like the warrior just kind of barreling through the rogue. A story that we've seen several times. Even just today in the other regions.
Yeah, Battle Rage was also interesting. Just for the fact that maybe he takes more damage from this Kronx, activates Mortal Strike, he goes for Risky Skipper Battle Rage next turn, draws more damage, but this is just way too consistent. Pushes more damage.
I never lie, but I never tell the truth.
Ooh, Flame Ward as an opportunity to stop aggression. Obviously, Freezing Trap and Eye for an Eye, probably not that useful. But if he goes for Eye for an Eye, he can go for another secret attempt. Like, he can go for an Eye for an Eye and then try to pull another 2-mana secret from Hunter.
Yeah. What would you be looking for?
Snake Trap. Explosive Trap is reasonable.
Okay, yeah, Explosive Trap deals with the lackeys effectively.
Right. I guess Bamboozle is also on the table here. But I thought that Fr0zen was even considering playing Titanic Lackey and then Blackjack Stunner. So if he was thinking about playing those two, maybe it changes a little bit. Quite honestly, I think that you don't have time to play these expensive dragons, but Fr0zen's going to hold on to it just in case. Looks like Hanar gets the taunt off, and Firebat has... He has close to lethal. I don't think I see it right here.
No. Like, he could damage Corcoran Elite and Bloodsworn Mercenary, but it would just push 4.
I'll show you who's boss.
You fell right into
Firebat gonna go for the Risky Skipper number 2, recognizing that this is a wide board and wants to pick it apart.
So Never Surrender, still an option for a secret. Eye for an Eye, Redemption.
Yeah, part of me wonders if Firebat's gonna go for it anyways. Corcoran Elite and Bloodsworn Mercenary and just push damage to the face.
Oh, and then he has Mortal Strike lined up as a lethal.
Right.
If he takes more damage, so it's like a win-win. He's like, oh yeah, I want to take damage.
Yeah, that Eye for an Eye, like, kind of gets him closer within that Mortar Strike distance. Firebat playing so aggressively.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this could be in the benefit of Fr0zen here. Flake Sky Shiv is his only removal tool, but he could also just play Explosive Trap. The problem is Explosive Trap doesn't deal with the board, and then Firebat can play Battle Rage.
Yeah. And if he Galacrons, then he only gets rid of the Corcoran Elite unless he picks up something to do with the other stuff, but they're damaged, so there's not that many tempo cards that he could pick up, like Backstab, that could help him deal with things. He has another Shield of Galacron in the deck, that's possible. He could flick the Bloodsworn Mercenary. because that shuts off something. But with both Core Kernel Elites gone after this one dies, Bloodsport Mercenary doesn't have great targets. At least not like game-finishing targets, but maybe value targets.
Fr0zen chooses to get rid of every minion on the board, shut off any possibility of rampage, any possibility of... Oh my goodness.
Mortal Strike Anchor.
Yeah. And Firebat's aggressive line pays off, gets him a game 1 victory. With each passing day, Firebat's facial hair, his goatee grows stronger, as does his record. By the end of GM, he'll have a full-grown beard, and I guess he'll never lose a game of Hearthstone after that.
In theory.
In theory. Another interesting storyline, by the way, is that Firebat and Fr0zen kind of had a little bit of a run-in during the Swiss stages. In the first couple of weeks, there was a disconnect when Firebat was playing against Fr0zen, and I think Fr0zen was given an automatic loss. I think that kind of created a little tension because there might have been a misunderstanding of, where was Firebat trying to get the win? Was he not? Did he give? And remember, the reason why is because both of them help each other out. Like, primarily, if Firebat's internet went out, he always used to go to Fr0zen's house and like play matches and whatnot. So I hope everything's okay. I don't know anything else. I'm not going to try to like instigate any more drama or anything because I don't know the full story. So by all means, these two stream, so perhaps go and ask them in chat whenever you get a chance to. But I do know that is something that happened recently, and I hope everything's okay. But if not, the worst case scenario is that we have another rivalry budding within America's Grandmasters, TJ.
Yeah, and honestly, these are the two players that butted heads with us the most last year for America's Grandmasters. So,
Yes.
let the anger flow through you.
That's right.
Both of them calling us out on social media multiple times, actually, throughout, I think, Season 1, maybe. Maybe
Right.
some in Season 2,
Fr0zen
too.
versus TJ was one of my favorite rivalries.
Yeah. That was a good one. That was a good
Great.
one. Fun times.
It just reminds me of the Hearthies. I think, honestly, Grandmasters peaked back then.
Yeah. To cap off a season of Specialist, the Hearthies. And we were planning on doing it for Season 2, but,
You asked
I wasn't
for it.
able to finish the season of casting, so
Yes.
couldn't bring it to the finish line.
Not only you, TJ. There was a couple of complications that
There was a couple of
that made it
complications,
difficult to finish the season, so Hearthies were canceled. I don't know if we can do it in Season 3 either, because we're not all in studio together and we don't have the production capability. So we might have to wait for a while before the Hearthies return, which, of course, makes me sad. People who don't know, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's an award show of superlatives based off the Grandmaster season.
It was fun. All right, Coin Scrap Imp.
You know what else is fun?
Coin Scrap Imp?
Yeah, real fun.
Seems fun to me.
Is this a deck that can deal with it, though? I mean, Mage with Frostnova Doomsayer does have like capabilities of answering a wide board, and if Firebat doesn't have access to Soulfire Magic Carpet, let's say his board's too full, or let's say that he doesn't have the mana to do it, possibility.
It does have a lot of like weird tools that can help it survive. Even just in the hand, Bone Wraith, Cartoon Defender, that can block a lot. Mana Saber can accelerate the mana. Flame Ward will be able to deal with at least some of this early board presence. But there's a lot of just raw stats on board, which is not something that Mage deals with well outside of almost specifically Frostnova Doomsayer. Oh, and Puzzle Box. But currently, there's no Puzzle Box or Dragoncaster or Dragon in the hand. So Fr0zen's got a long way to go if that's considered an out.
Well, I mean, he's got
This
the Totem
situation.
Pilgrim.
Yeah, so it can come out on 8, but 8 might be
The
too
light
late
protects me.
to be great.
Useful things, eager to share.
True that, mate.
You shall not pass.
Fr0zen is
Reasonable turn 3.
Yeah, that's a reasonable turn 3. Fr0zen actually has the ability to use Flame Ward here as well, very effectively.
He can even Mana Saber and just keep it there until Firebat attacks into the Flame Ward.
Right. If he does play Flame Ward, it just leaves up only the Argent Squire.
Yeah, it's quite good in this situation, I'd say.
Although Fr0zen does get the attack benefit as well, and the Serpent Egg dies too. It wasn't buffed by the Scrap Imp. Oh. However, if Fr0zen draws Reno the Relicologist, then he is on the board. That is a powerful Squire. The light is very much protecting her.
Take 7.
Okay, we know if Fr0zen can get to the late game, he will win against the Zoo Warlock over time. It's about whether or not Zoo Warlock can get there fast enough.
Ooh.
I can't move.
I've been thinking about playing the Voidwalker off curve there because it would have protected the 7/3 Argent Squire. But he would still be quite vulnerable to Reno the Relicologist, and the Mana Saber would stick on board. So at least in this situation, either Fr0zen has to trade his Mana Saber over fully if he doesn't have Reno, or if Reno was there, at least Firebat gets to have the Scrap Imp hit a turn sooner. So he's just kind of weighing his options there.
Yeah, speaking of which, Fr0zen with this Ray of Frost actually introduces a couple of different lines he can take. He can use the Ray of Frost now to stall, and then try and capitalize on mana later. He can also just play straight up Cartoot Defender. I think I like the Bone Wraith plus the ping the most, because Ray of Frost can still be applicable later, versus Bone Wraith is probably going to get worse when your opponent plays their second Scrap Imp and gets the buff. And kind of a bad draw, actually, for Firebat. He already had a Magic Carpet.
Yeah, second carpet, not the greatest. Even a 1-drop there probably wouldn't have been too impactful. He's looking for almost specifically Hand of Gul'dan at this point. Well, I mean, a 3/8 is still quite powerful on the board. From his perspective, it cannot get challenged.
Right. That Bone Wraith being an MVP, taking 7 damage and being able to challenge again.
Well, that cuts off the Tortolan Pilgrim
Right.
box out.
That's actually not a good draw here for Fr0zen.
Because even if he picks up Dragoncaster, I mean, what a world we live in where a 10-mana card is sometimes a good draw early on in the game.
True, he doesn't have the dragon though, so Dragoncaster still wouldn't be able to get it off.
Yeah. So we're still looking at turn 8 at the earliest. But it looks like Fr0zen's bought himself some time. Trying to think of some plays that he could make here. He can answer the Magic Carpet, but it would take essentially all of his resources. And so it looks like he is going to have to leave this up.
Time runs out on me.
Can freeze it though. But the benefit of Magic Carpet usually isn't in its ability to attack, but just the strength that it gives to a lot of minions in the deck. That is now a 5/7 Woodwalker.
Yeah, but Firebat's not picking up the 1-drops.
Well, I mean, that gives him 2 1-drops.
It's true. That helps him clear off everything.
Looks like he wants to play second carpet.
Okay.
I mean, this is just most raw power on board. Magic Carpet plus Voidwalker.
Yeah, Firebat doesn't seem afraid of the Escape Mana Saber giving an extra mana crystal here.
Yeah, he's just going to put as much power as possible.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what spells are available to Fr0zen from the Cortolan Pilgrim? Two of the
Blizzard?
best ones are out of the deck.
Yeah. He doesn't play Blizzard. So, Power of Creation, Rolling Fireball, Conjurer's Calling, Ice Barrier, Frost Nova, Arcane Intellect,
Yeah,
Arcane Breath.
The range
None of
is
those.
too big.
Yeah, none of those seem good.
And remember, Fr0zen's also still playing the Highlander Mage. The moment he picks up like Zephyrus, Brawl will be like a possibility.
Why do you call
One of the few decks playing AoE. From here, I guess Firebat weighs if he wants to bother trading to these water elementals or not, but I mean, the water elementals will do the trading for him.
Yeah. I mean, each of these lackeys is going to have +2 attack and rush, so...
possibilities?
Yeah, if Firebat kills his own Void Walker, I think that'd be kind of surprising, given that the Scrap Imp is similar stats, but one has Taunt.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so the one thing that I don't know if I like is filling up the board entirely. So if he does end up playing this Titanic Lackey, does he trade it off? And I would think you would want to, just in case you need to find a way to answer Doomsayer. Reno the Relicologist, it's not good enough.
Yeah. $19 power on board. Reno is actually...
Okay.
Honestly, maybe only will clear one minion.
I think
And-
he still has to do it, and then Ray of Frost, because then he can play Tortillon Program at 9, stall out if he gets lucky with a Frost Nova, and then
Oh, whoa.
plays
okay.
Puzzle Box or Amazing Reno.
This actually worked out pretty well.
Yes.
Only leaves up 6 power. So yeah, he does have to either draw Frost Nova or get it from Tortillon Pilgrim, and it's far from guaranteed.
Right.
He has
The vengeance burns.
Arcane Breath, Arcane Intellect,
Right.
Frost Nova, Ice Barrier, Conjurer's Calling, Rolling Fireball, Power of Creation. So 7 total spells in deck.
Hey, I got you,
And
friend.
he needs to hit one specifically.
I think a couple could still suffice.
Probably not. Maybe Power of Creation. But the thing is, you with Tortillon Pilgrim, you don't get to choose. So even if you do roll a taunt, you have to hope that Tortillon Pilgrim picks correctly.
Right, but is he dead if, like, a Rolling Fireball comes down and kills one of these minions? Yes. Yes.
No. Well? Oh, yeah, he is. Looking for Frost Nova.
Finds
Oh!
it! That is huge! So big. But I was thinking how Rolling Fireball, if it just kills off a minion, would he be dead? Now Firebat
Still no Hand of Gul'dan.
is his window too late here?
You throw away this Nightblade Mage and you're hard casting Hand of Gul'dan if you draw it.
Yeah.
And this has seemed like a setup for either Puzzle Box or the Amazing Reno.
Right.
And if you're thinking Puzzle Box, sure, adding another minion does, reduce the likelihood that Puzzle Box will clear off everything.
Yeah, and I think Firebat was kind of weighing if maybe he
Possibilities.
perhaps should have played Night Matron before, because this Phoenix Servant doesn't do anything. Oh, geez. Amazing Reno comes down now. Now, remember, Amazing Reno can still mess things up even for Fr0zen. He casts a random spell.
Oh,
Okay, tap.
Oh!
Huh.
You were just
Definitely unusual situation. He discards the shield bearer. Okay. Oh boy! Wait, well he can kill it though. Oh my goodness. So you rolling Fireball. Do you play a Doomsayer here, or do you play Zephyrus? I think you can make an argument for either. I do like the Doomsayer. Yeah, the Doomsayer's just better. It covers everything. Zoo's a board-based deck. It's only Serpent Egg specifically that it would be bad against, and even then... Fr0zen now has initiative. He can play Zephyrus into Tyrion. And Firebat, I think, has lost. Oh, he can actually just pick up Pyroblast for the following turn. He can't die, and he can't gain life.
Yeah.
Wow, 200 IQ. Well done, Zephyrus. I mean, it would offer it most of the time, but I was originally thinking about just playing Tyrion.
Well, with Amazing Reno, still always the chance that things could go horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah, and Firebat could guarantee the card draw. He could play his 2 1-cost minions and then Soulfire.
Hey.
But what is he even drawing to help bail him out of the situation? I think he understands that with Zephyrus being played and nothing following up, he pretty much knows exactly what's going on.
You were just a burden.
Yeah.
All
Thanks for the trade.
Amazing Reno has to heal Firebat's face here.
And that's not going to do enough. And Pyroblast is going to end it. So Fr0zen strikes back with his Highlander Mage. So some of the outlier decks doing well the first 2 games of the series. Warrior getting the win. Mage getting the win. 2 classes that we don't get to see that often.
For different reasons. One is just permabanned almost in every series. The other just Fr0zen's the only one who brought it.
Well,
so,
the mages
Ace Hunter's still up.
Yeah, the
What, do you
mages
ban
still
Ace Hunter?
seem pretty solid against
ban
Zoo. And I think, maybe that wasn't exactly the way I thought it would pan out, but overall well done by Fr0zen. Really able to navigate some tough turns. And yeah, he did need to get fortunate with things like the Tortillum program. But that's what you play for, right? You have to budget your resources, try to scrap things through, and then at the end of it, see if you were able to play your routes effectively. And he did just that. Fr0zen's going to turn to his Galakrond Secret Rogue, a deck that's been underperforming to say the least.
Wonder if Firebat's going to stick to the Zoo Warlock or maybe switch things up and play some Demon Hunter. Actually, I like his Demon Hunter list. Runs Frenzied Fellwing and I-Beam. Whoa! But no Beaming Sidekick. That's the difference in a lot of lists we're seeing. I-Beam has proved pretty useful, at least in Demon Hunter Mirror matchups.
How can it not be useful? It's in the best case scenario, it'd be 1 mana, deal 3 damage. The lifesteal, of course, is great, but 1 mana, deal 3 damage while having other synergy in your deck through Outcast feels very good. Because if you say 1 mana, 3 damage, like, oh, you mean like Holy Smite? I mean, Priest sometimes do play Holy Smite.
Whoa.
But look at that opening hand. Scrap him and Hand of Gul'dan. But what about Feral Cat into?
4-drop.
Still reasonable.
Now,
Considering that he does have a secret.
do you tap? I guess not. If you tap, it guarantees that you get the card draw from Hand of Gul'dan before the Scrap Imp hits. Because right now, the Scrap Imp will hit going into Firebat's 4-mana turn, which means he won't get to fully benefit from the Scrap Imp buff, because he'll be drawing cards after. But this means that he can at least fight for the board and get the buff a little bit faster to maybe start taking control with the cards that he draws from hand of Gul'dan that will not be buffed.
That makes sense. But very passive turns, and it makes sense given that he's playing very combo-oriented with the Hand of Gul'dan.
Oh, up to no good. Me too.
Fr0zen just trying to get more power in play. More options for lackeys.
Witchy Lackey will do it. Witchy Lackey might give him very powerful stats if he's able to get a 4-cost minion that's solid and give it Titanic Lackey stats.
So many options.
Yeah, overall, I approve. I think this is a solid situation here for Fr0zen if he wants to play Witchy Lackey. Although Ambush makes sense given that you're going into a Scrap Imp pop turn from the Zoo Warlock. And we've seen what Poisonous does to Zoo Warlock. It makes their brain explode.
It does.
Threat of the Secret is just way too high.
No, don't. It's still good.
You fell right into my trap.
And without Magic Carpet, the only way you can deal with it is Soulfire, and then Soulfire might kind of mess up some of the things that you're trying to plan for as well. Definitely unusual task. And I think that's where the power of Ambush lies. You kind of stall out your opponent's tempo. Firebat would love to just plop all his 1-drop, right? Like, load power onto the board, but now he might have to give it up. Ooh, fortunate for Firebat, he didn't lose a buffed minion.
Yeah. Or Magic Carpet, which were the two that I think he wanted to hold on to the most.
And he just draws his Blackjack Stunner when he just had his secret activated.
Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah. This is very difficult to climb back from Fr0zen's perspective. He's going to need a lot of help. Because this is just the tip of the iceberg as far as... Oh, okay.
That's pretty good with the Titanic Lackey. Gets a value trade.
Value trade.
And then the Kobold Lackey gives him 2 damage to get past this.
So many options.
I think he wanted to Seal Fate, though. It's okay. Seal Fate will usually have application against Zoo Warlock. This feels like you capitalize off of the Evolve better. This is not a Highlander rogue deck.
Yeah. Twin Tyrant is the only one that makes sense. You're not going to spend your turn 5 playing a 5/5.
Right.
It does nothing onto the board. But this goes wide, and I like this. It gives Fr0zen options for next turn. Especially since Firebat, even with Magic Carpet, is going to have to like pick things apart a little bit. Clear a decent amount of this stuff.
The fires of vengeance burn bright.
Right. It does cost him his own minions in some capacity, but not a huge deal. Ooh, 6 damage to the face.
Nice.
And I think that's what Fr0zen wanted. Or is it? I don't know. Actually, I didn't realize how awful his plays were after Seal Fate.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so that Kobold Lackey gives him, honestly, a decent chance of a Lackey sticking next turn. He could play Treasure or Iceburn Togbag on 6 and Treasure and search for some bigger answers to all this.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of power on board. That's for certain. Also, by leaving the Expired Merchant... Okay, never mind. I was going to say, by leaving the Expired Merchant up, he keeps less Hand of Gul'dans. So Firebat doesn't have the option to draw further. But Firebat picked one up.
But he doesn't kill off both the lackeys.
And you could tell
Fr0zen, of course.
Yeah. he knew that leaving the Expired Merchant up means that Firebat didn't have options to draw. And not giving him even a way to kill itself into his minions. Same scenario.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad beat. Fr0zen's an expert poker player. He's very profitable from what I've heard. Also, he is one of the highest rollers you'll ever play with. So, in terms of my company, I don't hang out with billionaires, but Fr0zen, when he's at the tables, he likes playing high stakes, and so he's seen his fair share of bad beats. But that's definitely a hard one to accept when it's like the only other copy of Hand of Gul'dan, and Firebat draws it with the Nightshade Matron, and now Firebat has all initiative on his side. He's going to be able to pick up trades very easily and build up this huge board. Fr0zen's relegated to need to rely on this wand to bail him out.
Isn't the far left Evil Genius still buffed?
I think it might be. Aren't you spectating in game? Can you see?
Not this one, no. For some reason I couldn't for this match. Okay, it is. He was playing to play both. That makes sense.
Well, the Rush Lackeys just finish off the rest of this board here.
Yeah. Fr0zen's gonna need like Wand into Galakron into Kronks.
Yeah, and that's just a specific draw sequence that's very unlikely.
Well, he could also hit Galakron and Kronks from the Wand. Oh!
Yeah, he needed that to be drawn.
Well, he didn't hit Galakron anyway, so...
Well, he does have 2 Blackjack stunners.
Okay. Is it enough to survive?
So, what are you supposed to bounce? You bounce the Serpent Egg, or the Serpent, rather.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bounce... Oh, I guess maybe you bounce Expired Merchant, since it doesn't get the Death Rattle effect.
Yeah, and you could...
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And you could trade into the...
Wow.
Nightshade Matron.
And he has 2 Goblin Lackeys.
Wow, he can actually clean up this
Yeah.
board a lot. Holy moly.
He's found a way. This is a very impressive board clear by Fr0zen. Is it enough? Remember, he does have a secret up as well. That was Bamboozle, I believe. So Firebat's not incentivized to trade at all. But if he plays a Rush minion, which he has 3 ways to activate it, it kind of feels bad to leave up this much power on the board. Whoa.
Ooh.
What a draw from Firebat. And I guess it'll depend on how the Bamboozle plays out. Firebat should attack very carefully here. A wrong attack, single misstep could cost him this game. And it seems like he's in the driver's seat right now. So he attacks into the Blackjack Center. That'll give him a 4-mana minion. That'll give Fr0zen a 4-mana minion.
Oh!
Waste a Snapjaw. That's hard to remove.
It's resilient. That's what he wants.
Right, and remember, Fr0zen still has this Heistman Togwoggle that I'm sure Firebat wants to answer, so he's going to trade into it. And then if we look at what the Twin Tyrant does, that enough to just clean up the rest of the board? It is. How interesting is that?
Wow.
Twin Tyrant is perfect clear on Magic Carpet number 2. And that buffs Evil Genius. Fr0zen not going to immediately rip it, though. He thinks just for half a second just to make sure that it looks good. But yeah. How about that?
If Firebat's played a Soulfire.
Yeah, and he's not killing this Twin Tyrant. It's too big.
No.
so close.
Of evil.
Dragon Queen
Cobalt
Alexstrasza.
Spellkin. Oh yeah, Dragon Queen. He's almost at the end of his deck.
I don't know if he has time though. It might have to be Cobalt Spellkin and try and nail. He could also get Rain of Fire
Okay.
since it damages all characters, I believe.
Firebat might not have to go for it now. For example, he could play his Nightshade Matron, trade into the Snapjaw, and then place the Cobalt Spellkin when he needs to start digging for answers. He goes for the Spellkin now. He can replace his hand with random demons. He's doing it. He found the Priestess of Fury.
Oh, jeez.
What is happening?
I don't know, Dan. I don't know.
Okay, but first of all, what does Fr0zen get? This is a big Van Cleef. Gonna be a 6/6.
And he puts a taunt in the way.
Right. This is a very. I mean, remember Firebat didn't Soulfire first.
He couldn't have. He only had 1 mana left.
I know. But that Priestess of Fury, it's not gonna go face 5 times, TJ.
I mean,
It could, but it's not.
it could.
Also, what? I mean, there's such a wide range of demons now. This is a demon expansion. There's so many demon possibilities here.
You would either have to kill a minion that's not the Oasis Snapdraw, or go 5 to face. Not die. Shield Bear!
My blades will sing.
Yeah, he's still dead unless he kills off a minion. And he didn't kill anything.
Just enough to spray around. Fr0zen has found the improbable comeback. Firebat had a explosive hand, and yet, despite that, Fr0zen takes the W. He's up 2-1. What an important win for Fr0zen here. If he lost this game, he was very likely to lose this series from that position. And then he'd be down 0-2 in the overall standings, which would just be wild to think about, considering how consistent he's been over the course of the first couple of seasons of GM. And that brings us to Game 4 with Fr0zen's Demon Hunter up next.
Yeah, and brace yourself. If only Firebat was playing Charge Zoo.
True. If he had Wolf Rider, he would have finished that game much quicker. And it doesn't even have to be Stone Tusk Spore, right? In the Boogie War, just a Wolf Rider. So TJ, you might be onto something.
I mean, we both know that I've been hyper impressed, been a champion for Charge Zoo Warlock for some time now. So
Yes. I know. You love it. You think it's the best deck in the game.
yeah, if only. If only he had the luxury of holding on to 4 cards in hand for the whole game. He could have had enough damage.
If only.
But
Tempo Demon Hunter coming out here from Fr0zen, as he does have slightly heavier stuff, but because he does have like the Volpero Scoundrel. But I love the One of Questing Adventure. It feels like one of those options where like every now and then that card just goes unanswered, and because of all the cheap outcast abilities, you just kind of snowball the game, and then it's hard for your opponent to deal with it, and then the Questing Adventure just solos your opponent.
and Mana Burn.
Now,
Yes,
you
and Mana
dare
Burn,
speak to me?
which gives them fewer opportunities to answer. I'm a fan.
Yeah. Wow. So decent hands from both sides. Firebat. Oh, okay. All right. I was very shortly considering a full keep, but you just want max tempo draw the skull later when you need the cards. This is good. Battle Fiend, Twin Slice, I-Beam to protect the Battle Fiend, control the early state of the board. Fr0zen's on the play, got a couple of 1-drops. Seems good to me.
Yeah, and like quite honestly, it feels like this is a recipe for success. Frenzy Fellwing is great if you can play it for free and you can play it early. If you can't, it does seem like you tend to struggle with that floating in your hand while you're playing reactively. Another thing to consider is that Fr0zen is on the play, and when you're on the play and you have the curve, you're at a pretty significant advantage. Cards like Twin Slice, though, that's how you win it back.
And wisely using the Twin Slice instead of the coin.
Oh. Gotta be kidding me, that's crazy. DJ, that's pretty close to the ideal draw there for Fr0zen.
This is a solid early game. Now this is the Demon Hunter versus Demon Hunter I've come to expect.
Right.
Toe to toe. Hinging on every draw. Nobody has a significant lead.
It's all about trading 1-1s and 2-2s. The thing is, Fr0zen will have an opportunity to play the Satyr Overseer, and then Firebat can respond to it with I-Beam.
The fires of vengeance
Going wider I like better.
Yeah, I think that 1-drop does change the play, because otherwise he would just play single 1-drop, and I think this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Now he can answer with 2 damage, second slice hero power with the Satyr Overseer, and then roll that into Warglaives. Or if Firebat has a weak turn and he picks up another playable card, he can actually save Satyr Overseer for the actual Warglaives follow-up, which is a very powerful play. So this just gives him options moving forward.
Speaking of options, I wonder if that Fr0zen Shadow Weaver introduces a different line here for Firebat. He's thinking about maybe instead of playing his Chaos Strike and I-Beam, he can go for the Fr0zen Shadow Weaver. Battle Mage helps him redevelop, which might be better. So the I-Beam this turn means that he keeps a 2-2 on the board that trades into a 1-1. So it'll be a 2-1 left.
You could also just go face, play Frenzied Fellwing.
Oh, I like that as well. Frenzied Fellwing, and then you can I-Beam. But then things kind of die on the board. So
Yeah.
I think the Battle Mage number 2 does kind of the same thing as he wants, but he gets to save I-Beam for potentially even more efficient damage down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, this makes sense.
All I see is weakness. Job's done.
Still close, though. Big draw for Firebat, just have follow-up to its Fr0zen Shadow Weaver turn. And it's a... Okay, Umberwing. Solid
Yeah,
card.
overall, pretty even game.
Yeah.
Do you want to use the I-Beam here? Feels pretty mana efficient, plus you get to remove 2 threats.
This has been... Both players are just have 1/1s on board and very little cards in hand. So it's all about the quality of the next card drawn, and Fr0zen just seems to be drawing the more powerful cards. But this has been a very cool battle for tempo going on. And we haven't seen this much of Demon Hunter in the past couple days just because every single mirror matchup has seemed like a blowout.
Right. Back and forth makes it pretty interesting to see how this ends up panning out here. And this Fr0zen Shadow Weaver,
in the shadows.
Clutch!
yeah, and now he gets to develop the Frenzied Fellwing behind it too.
Yeah, and he does get to hold on to the second slice because he only needs
Yeah, only needs one.
Only needs
power.
one. Yep. And Fr0zen does not have a good response to this. Firebat has the health lead, even though his card quality has been slightly less. Oh, the Kane pickup is clutch.
Yeah, that Warglade's number 2.
I will still find you.
Firebat needs a big pickup. He finds a Glaive-bound Adept. I mean, these are like the matchups I kind of expected more from Tempo Demon Hunter Mirrors, where it's like very tightly contested.
Yeah.
So from Firebat's perspective, pretty clear. You kill this Kane, right? And then you Glaive-bound Adept the face.
Yep. Sets up for Metamorphosis to be a 2-turner. Also forces Fr0zen to answer. Firebat is now on the burn plan.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, is this a 2-turn from Fr0zen now? If he goes hit, Metamorphosis. No, it's just better to kill the Glaive-bound Adept and follow up with Metamorphosis.
He needs to answer it. And it's up to Firebat to generate.
Metamorphosis right now.
7 damage.
Wait!
Are you
my God.
serious? How that was runner
What?
to get the win.
No.
I am complete.
For exact lethal.
Wow.
And if you think about it, the small edges that you're able to do in your deck building, Frenzied Bellwing, for example, to have 2 of them into your deck to try to push out a little bit more stats,
Yeah.
ends up making a world of difference. You know, being able to get that free 3 damage because the work is traded into it, huge. Every single card mattered. Every single point of damage that was pushed mattered in that matchup. Super close. Wow.
And that's been a completely different story of what we've been seeing from Demon Hunter. Like I said, it's been pretty one-sided, a lot of blowout mirrors, and that game right there is like Demon Hunter at its true power level. Like those are the games you expect, where it's close. You fight for tempo. One player realizes their aggressor, starts pushing face damage and using all their cards, and then it's who draws their powerful stuff to end the game. And that's exactly what happened. And that shows, like you said, the strength of Frenzied Bellwing, giving you like these options in the mid game to, fit it in as an extra 3/2, make your opponent's turns awkward. They can't just attack, trade, clear the board, and go back to whatever. So, nicely done.
Very nice. Well, game 5, winner takes all in this best of 5. A crucial game for Fr0zen. Again, he's down in the overall standing 0-1. Going down 0-2. That's a tough position to be in because you are playing from behind and you are likely to be in the relegation bracket at the very least. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. What's the one drop of choice here from Fr0zen?
Battlefield has highest potential with his hand. Probably hold on to the coin because he's got a massive questing adventure lined up.
Still good.
Yeah, and the double Battle Fiend. Double Battle Fiend is really hard for Zoo to deal with, actually, on just 3 mana. They would have to exactly have double Soulfire, but they're giving up a lot of cards.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about, how the Questing Adventure can very subtly be a sleeper OP card in this situation. Because if the Questing Adventure can't get answered, then Firebat is just going to take a lot of damage. Not to mention that there's still Battle Mages as threats. Oh my goodness.
He picks the other Soulfire.
No! He discarded the other Soulfire.
Now there is, outside Magic Carpet, 0 answer to this questing adventure. Okay, Nightshade Matron, that's an answer. So Fr0zen can get this to 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6.
Give me a quest.
That's the big difference, though.
If he uses
Plus
everything.
4, plus 4. Yeah, he knows about Nightshade Matron. He also saw Soulfire being discarded, too. Also, a little fun thing is that Fr0zen's hand is going to be full.
Ooh, is he going to leave it here? Is he going to leave it at a 5-5?
He has... well, it's still not exactly clear skies either. There's still 5 power represented, and Fr0zen does have more more ammo. And Firebat's overdrawing!
He's going to overdraw another one. He's got too much stuff in his hand. You've seen both Soulfires, a Nightshade Matron. Do you ever just play... And Magic Carpet Burn. Do you ever just play Altruis?
What's the upside? The upside is...
You have an Altruis on board?
Right, but like your next cards are like Metamorphosis on the outside, and then whatever you draw.
Well, if he picks up any playable card next to Crimson Sigil Runner. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's totally worth thinking about.
The fires of vengeance burn bright.
Firebat might just be too far behind now.
Yeah.
Like, he's got all the card draw in the world, but he has not enough mana crystals, and like we're talking about, the Battle Fiend is going unchecked.
And Firebat's only way to immediately fight back on the board is the second Magic Carpet in deck, or any lackeys that he'd pick up from this Evil Genius. So it looks like he does have to dig for lackey. He can either get the Goblin Lackey or Kobold to deal with the Battle Fiend, and then maybe these taunt minions can buy him enough time. Didn't find either of them, so he's taking damage.
You shall not pass.
I mean, that's also kind of a nutty draw too here. Fr0zen with the Gleefbound Adept can push a ton of damage, and then with that, he's got Metamorphosis guaranteed for the lethal. Over 2 turns. And that's if the absolute worst case scenario happens, which is he loses his entire board.
Yeah. Yep, all this goes face. Exactly 5. Firebat's got to know what's up here.
Yeah, he's dead. There's no way you can recover from that. I'm willing to stand corrected if Ethereal Lackey can find some way here, but...
Drain life?
I mean...
It's 3 of his mana.
Yeah. And he has 2 taunts?
Yeah, I don't think it's happening.
So Drain Life kills the Battle Fiend.
And then he puts Void
Abusive
Walker.
Sergeant.
Abusive Sergeant trades over Gleefbound Adept. He trades over 1 and then puts a Shield Bearer in the way.
And he's still dead. No, he's not dead.
He's not dead. He's dead over 2 turns.
Right. He's managed to stop the bleeding. Now, there could be a better Witchy Lackey target, and perhaps he has to get really lucky and find, like, something truly godlike to help give him the chance here, but... Not seeing it.
Oh, well, there you go.
Kane's Sunfury going to close it out. Fr0zen with the comeback victory and gets a much-needed win. And as a member of Division B, these wins are critical for your success. Not just for playoffs, but to survive. And that brings us to the conclusion of Series 4. Pretty fun matchup, back and forth.
Yeah, it was a good one. Firebat ended up losing all 3 games that series with Zoo Warlock. So back to the drawing board, I guess, with that one. Zoo Warlock seems to be... Everything seems to be backwards today. Rogue isn't performing as bad as it has, even though it's not great. It's like 50% today instead of 20%, like it's been in previous days. Charged Zoo Warlock seems to be performing better, and the non-charged Warlock seems to be the one that's struggling. So a little bit of a difference today, and we're starting to see some more of these decisions making sense from players, but we're also muddying the waters when it comes to who's right, who's correct at the end of the day with their brings, because we're seeing all these archetype differences, and not a single one is proving to be the end-all, be-all, best version of the deck. So that kind of confuses me. I'm a little bit bamboozled, but it also leaves me excited for future weeks because it doesn't seem like anything's settled. And if Rogue falls out of the metagame, it opens the ways up for Priest to come back in the metagame. It's exciting for everybody, Dan.
Oh, definitely. So looking